Happy Halloween from G1 Toys. There has been a rapping at our cellar door. For what, you may ask? For more PS3 reviews, of course, so join us as we explore the cemetery for more titles to review. Not every game will make your skin crawl, but the ones that do will be forever ingrained into your lifeless skulls and may leave lasting impressions that will forever haunt your dreams. Enjoy if you dare. Welcome yet again, G1 viewers, to our Halloween special. Now, I never thought I'd come back and see the day where I'd be doing another PS3 update, but here we are, so here we go. This is Family Game Night 4, the game show. This includes Scrabble Flash, Yahtzee Bowling, Sorry Sliders, Bop It Boptagon, and Connect 4 Basketball. And this one is PlayStation Move compatible. It's by EA, rated E, and there are your games right there on the back, and your rating down there at the bottom. So let's jump right in and start talking about Family Game Night. Since my channel is fairly family friendly, I've decided to explore the series once again, and it's scary enough to slime its way onto the list. The prequel had potential to carry on a healthy libido, plutonic of course, since we are family friendly here. Fact is, this one took a dip in the bog of eternal stench. The appeal for playing an electronic game versus the actual physical board game better knock my socks off, and although I like the idea of going into my room and forgetting the outside physical world, I'd rather play Pinata with a nuke than go through this again. You see the big names like Yahtzee and Connect 4 and Scrabble, and you expect to play these board games here, right? Wrong. What you really get is a poorly executed collage of crap involving physical sports like basketball or bowling. Just because you're EA doesn't mean you should always incorporate sports with your renditions of timeless classics. I'm a series collector, so that is why I broke down and finally obtained this title, but I really should reevaluate my collecting habits when developers decide to poo all over my sequels. Next up, we are here with the first Halloween-themed game. This is Medieval Moves. As you can see, the presentation is really cool with those skeletons on the front. This is an E10 Plus, Sony Move required on this one. You have to have a Move system to play this game. It's presented very nicely. There's the back for you, and the rating there at the bottom. So let's just talk about Medieval Moves and get right into this one. So in our first Halloween-themed homage and vigorous on-rail romp, you are Deadman, once boy turned skeleton with some pretty sweet sports champions-based mechanics. And yes, you'll be using the Move controller, so prepare yourself for some exercising. And I don't mean of spirits. You have a bow and arrow and a sword and throwing stars to dispatch of your bony busybodies that attack you like mosquitoes at dusk. So it mixes up the battling fairly well. I still believe this could have been better if it were off a rail system and incorporated the second Move controller to free roam some more. As a whole, it's frightfully average to good, but that's enough to recommend it to most and land in my spooky collection. For our next monstrous title, we have Sorcery. Now, this is only on PlayStation and does require the Move controllers yet again to play. So 2 games in a row here that you have to have the Move to play, but very cool nonetheless that they have provided games like this with the Move compatibility. E10 Plus and Sony is your developer. The magic is in your hands, and very well presented there on the case. There's your rating there at the bottom. We're ready to go. So this one is searching for epic like a ship caught in the fog looking for a lighthouse. Unfortunately, it took a dive into a witch's cauldron of boiling frustration and a very, very sore wrist. It really is too bad this couldn't have provided more, being that it took years to develop. The side games were actually a nice change from the aspiring Harry Potter wand battles. I can say the enemy selection and story was well done, and you will encounter diverse figures who add to the darkness that the story eventually delves into. Alchemy is also a nice added bonus, but doesn't really hold you like it could have. In the end, Sorcery is a good story-driven game, but doesn't quite leave you spellbound. And next up is Splinter Cell Blacklist by Ubisoft, and has the mature rating there at the bottom. Does have network features. This one is rated mature for the reasons there below, and the countdown has begun. So let us go ahead and continue, and we'll tell you all about this. We once again lurk in the shadows, but we aren't alone. There's a great array of options and multiplayer goodness not seen since the likes of Chaos Theory. The action is hiding in the back seat, but knows when to manifest itself at the most pivotal moments. It's one of the darkest and grittiest installments, and is why it made our list on this update review. It's not a perfect display of disaster, but keeps the graphics steady throughout. Sam Fisher is back with a new code of justice, and whether spy or merc, you'll be killing your way to fulfillment in the comfort of your own home. And next we bring to you the Silent Hill HD Collection. And I'm just a little perturbed that they did not include the first game with this series. I so wanted to get all three of the originals. But this does come with part 2 and 3 by Konami, rated mature. This does have PlayStation Network features. And there at the back, this is survival horror at its finest. And blood and gore and violence is what you will see in these games. So there's one of the creepy nurses. I really dig those, and I thought those would be a really cool Halloween idea costume for a chick that likes to be a little slutty but yet a little scary at the same time. So let's talk about Silent Hill. And now to the true meat of our horror collection. We unearth the Silent Hill series. Backtrack in your minds to the 90s or the early 2000s when survival horror needed only the Resident Evil mechanic to psychologically strum at our scare strings. Although they may strike a dissonant chord, they also show their age and fall short of spectacular HD rendering. Also, the voice actors were changed on Part 2, but give you the option to play with the original. Part 3, however, was stripped of this option, and I still have questions as to why this was done. Bottom line is, these games are a throwback, literally, to the same PS2 console-clad originals with few upgrades. The probing question is, are they worth the return? Despite not having the first game included, another choice I question, at least I got to relive my past just enough to know why I moved on to bigger and better things. Yep, we're keeping it real with the next installment of Silent Hill Homecoming. And I wonder if we said this backwards, if it would be scary. Let's try it. Silent Hill Come Homing. No effect, right? All right, Konami and mature rated there at the bottom. You got your rating there at the bottom as well. Shows you what's going on. And then your presentation. And again, slutty yet effective and creepy as well on the nurses there. One of the games that I played that I was very, very unimpressed with. Let's just talk about it. Continuing on, we come to Homecoming. No relation to the Spider-Man movie other than a spider-like presence you end up fighting eventually. I guess what this game has done is improve graphically, but it is riddled with flaws, including hit detection, horrible combat dodging, and a complete lack of health increases. They might as well have hogtied you and thrown you in a pit of freaks to have their way with you. It truly was like the Dead Souls of Silent Hill installments, because it felt like you gained little headway while swiping away at the evil presence. Of all the games thus far, I did enjoy the creature development best. Some of the things you witness coming at you may cause leakage if you're faint of heart or have incontinence, so make sure Walmart is not out of adult Depends. And our last installment of Silent Hill games on the PS3, this one is called Downpour. And I kind of like the way they did the color down to the black and white bleed. I like that. It is by Konami and rated mature there at the bottom. On your back, you have a saying. It says, "Who can stop the rain?" Is it God? Is it an Indian medicine man? I don't know anyone who can stop the rain myself. But there is your rating there at the bottom. And let's talk about Downpour. This intro was like the movie with Harrison Ford called The Fugitive, but lacking any associated talent. Great movie, by the way, but not so great game, unfortunately. I wanted to love this one, I really did. It's a sad day here at G1 Toys, but Halloween is upon us, and I'm just glad I finally got to conclude this PS3 series before Devil's Night. Okay, this was a questionable look at what started as a game-changing horror series. Sometimes a new direction won't lead to a favorable outcome. They really tried to introduce a new feel for the franchise, and they did. A humdrum story mixed with semi-engaging battle sequences. If you enjoy beating the hell out of things uglier than yourself, you may find some joy here, but I would rather beat up the developers that thought this was what we needed. And next we are talking about the Worms collection. This includes Worms Part 1, Worms Ultimate Mayhem, and Worms 2 Armageddon together at last. This one's by Maxim Games, rated E10+. Does come with some DLC if you get it brand new. There's the back for you and your rating there at the bottom. And interesting pick for a Halloween game, right? Worms, you ask? Why would we cover a game like this near Halloween? Worms can be scary. What about the worms that eat your rotting corpse when you die? I, for one, feel they deserve their spot among the skeletons, incubuses, and aliens. I must admit, 2 games of the 3 offered were extremely addictive and reminded me a bit of the green-haired kamikazes called the Lemmings on Super Nintendo. Worms, however, pulled off a variety that Super Nintendo never had the space for. It is strong enough for the loner, but pH balanced for multiplayers. It's as if thousands of Earthworm Jims abandoned their spacesuits and joined the army to go rogue in their own sandbox. I feel the 2D entries may have surpassed the 3D attempt in Ultimate Mayhem. 2 out of 3 games here rock pretty hard. It's burrowing and battling fun, and won't try to eat you before you're dead. All guns blazing, we bring to you the next and final installment of our PS3 update video. I do have one more game, and I'll explain that later, but this is called XCOM Enemy Unknown. This one is by 2K and Firaxis, rated mature there at the bottom. And look at the presentation, just done really splendidly. I love the art direction there that they've taken. There's your rating there at the bottom. And eventually you knew we'd have to come to aliens, so here we go. We're going to talk about some outer world threats that we can dispatch of with our crew. Let's talk about XCOM. Usually aliens would make the bottom of my list for fun, but you add some tactical turn-based strategy minus the grids, and I'm in like cheap hospital slogans that ask for your sponsorship. If you happen to recall the XCOM game on computer called UFO Defense, this one takes that concept and recooks it in the PlayStation kitchen. From diverse aliens and environmental interactivity, we get an above-average game in the category of fun. Ellen Ripley's Believe It or Not, you do get attached to your soldiers after partaking in the spoils of war together. If you decide to take on this challenge, know what you are getting into may possibly denote your demise, but don't give up solely based on frustration. Press on and defeat the alien threat. And our next game is called XCOM Enemy Within. This is the Commander Edition, and if you take a look at both covers, you can see there is a little bit of a difference there between the two. But this is the same game, it's just an upgrade, and so that is technically why it is our last game today. We will discuss. But our direction is a little bit better on the other game for the case, but this game is actually a funner game all around. So about Enemy Within. There are a lot of usualies in life, and for the first installment on PS3, I didn't see myself getting into this title. Now, usually, expanded upon games wouldn't scratch my gamer's itch. But for the follow-up enhancement to the previous game, I didn't take that seriously. I am impressed once again with the upgrade. You'll experience a new human factor called Exalt, pressing at your heels, and enough new tech to intimidate any outer world threats. I find Enemy Within somewhere along the lines of great and awesome, almost not even needing the first game, but I guess I can see how the person craving a challenge would benefit if he or she were to revert back to it. I really received a game here that changed levels, weapon, and armor enough to merit playing through again. If Newt were present from the Aliens movies, she may say these follow-ups usually suck, usually. But she isn't, and I'm here to tell you it's the exact opposite. Whether you're gaming in or gaming out this Halloween, always prepare for the worst. Bring your trusty sawed-off shotgun because you never know what or who may be sneaking up behind you. This is G1 Toys saying play responsibly or risk certain death by entities who want nothing less than to mangle you.